can't put all the black women in that spot because the ones that you was interested in wasn't interested in you.
Because you haven't found the person you were looking for that's black right now. Now you change your mind. Oh, I need to go date someone else and what I found is I've tried.
You know, before Childish Gambino was Childish Gambino, he was probably the artsy dude, the different guy. You know, he wasn't the thug, he wasn't the athlete.
He talked about that.
You know what I'm saying?
He said he talked about that.
More often than not, them black women probably didn't even want to talk to somebody like that.
Conversation is necessary because we can understand why feelings can be hurt. But the trip is, when Meghan Markle got married to Prince Harry, the conversation was different.
Yes. Yeah. Somebody's emotional.
I think it was different though. But this is America though. Like.
All right, hello ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of 6 Degrees of Black Mental Health. And if you can tell, it's a little bit different. You know, we got some different energy in the room today because the conversation that we're getting ready to have, it needs to be balanced. So today we invited Tyne McGee to come. And Tyne is a public speaker, a meditation guide, psychotherapist, and researcher. Her work focuses on using holistic approach to guide others to reconnect with their most natural selves and living their truths. She is passionate about providing mental health services to her local community and has worked in the D.C. metropolitan area for 7 years. Tyne is in the process of completing her doctoral degree in counseling psychology at Howard University. And plans to further pursue her purpose of liberating individuals of spiritual, mental, and emotional bondage. So welcome to the show, Tyne McGee.
Thank you.
It's time. Thank you.
Oh, she gets a clap. She gets a clap, right?
So
you starting off. You trying to get on the good side. Easy. What happened before they started rolling? I'm just saying, man, we got to start off with it. You know?
Right. So y'all, let's set the context for the conversation that we're getting ready to have. Right. So today we're going to be talking about interracial relationships as it pertains to black mental health, as it pertains to social media, and the perceptions of what love is, black love. Is interracial dating considered black love? And talk about some of the new things that have been happening in social media lately. So kind of what are your thoughts about this whole interracial dating thing as it relates to, you know, black love?
I mean, it's interesting, your question, is interracial dating black love, right? And I think we kind of picked up talking about the royal wedding a little bit, and I did view it myself, you know, and like, go Meghan Markle, you know, do your thing, whatever. But I think that you also got to take into consideration how people identify themselves. And so for me, that's always the most important thing. I know my racial identity is very important to me as a black woman. And, you know, when looking at how I want my family to look, you know, I want black children. But within the royal wedding, we're talking about a woman who identifies as biracial. You know, and it's very clear to make a separation that she's not black, but she's black and white, which is true. You know, so for me, you know, even as a woman, a black woman, I'm not saying go black woman, because that's not how she identifies. You know, so I look at people how they choose to look at themselves. And if they call it black love in some way because they are very active in their community, but they have a person who doesn't look like them, but is also active in that community and is a part of pushing the agenda forward to help the black movement, that's black love.
I like that.
That could be black love.
It's interesting what you just said, though, like as far as how people identify, like the biracial piece. I never really took that into consideration as far as you saying, oh, I'm biracial. That doesn't necessarily mean you're black or you identify as being black. Speak to that a little more, because I think I'm a little confused about that.
Well, hold on. Is it kind of saying that, hey, I'm biracial, I'm not black? Is that someone saying that as well?
Is it equivalent to saying I'm not black?
Yeah.
I think I'm speaking specifically to Meghan Markle, right?
Okay.
So people are projected onto her, this black woman, Because, in this country, one drop of black blood, you black.
One drop rule.
The one drop rule, right? And so I think people projected that onto her, but she made very clear in her media and public speaking kind of engagement, I am biracial, I'm both white and black. So don't call, to me, it came off as don't call me black.
Right.
Because I'm black and white. But if you look, it goes different ways. Like President Obama, for me personally, he is the first black president. He's not the first African American because he's Kenyan. So he's a Kenyan American and he's white. So he's not African American. I'm African American. My lineage is here in this country as far as I can go back. But he's the first black president, but he's also half white. And that's why Jay-Z says on his song, remember our president is black, but he's also half white. You get what I'm saying? So the comfort of people to vote for him is also a part of the fact that he's half white.
Okay.
And even though he's black. You get what I'm saying? So it's nuances in it, but we always talk about it as black and white. But it's nuances, and nobody is 100% anything.
Right.
I'm Native American, I got Irish in there. At one time I didn't want to admit it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I got a question. I don't want to really jump off topic too much, but I think just in terms of providing some more context for the viewers, you identify as African American, and that was interesting to me just in knowing kind of your passion for black culture and black community, because here recently I've kind of been struggling with not struggling here right now, but because I now say black where I wouldn't used to say black. I would say African American. Yeah. Now I don't say African American. Howard taught me that. Just in terms of this hyphenated identity and this idea that Caucasians don't have that hyphenated, we're your country of origin in front of the American part. They're just American. And so talk to me about kind of your decision to identify as African American, because now I feel like black is more inclusive. Yeah. Black incorporates all the pieces of us because most of us can't trace that lineage, but you choose to identify differentiate. What went into that process?
It's layers. So I feel like I'm still on that journey as well of figuring out how I identify. I think before it was just black, all black, everything black, 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 and it is more inclusive of the African diaspora, of people from Africa, from Caribbean, and, in Latin America. Right. But I think I dismantled black for myself because I have a child, right? I have a 6-year-old. And what I'm coming to understand about kids and their understanding is when you say black and white, they literally think in colors. And so when you're reading literary pieces to them and they see black associated with bad and white associated with good, that's also contributing to these conditionings that we're having where we're thinking we're less than.
It's so crazy because that's the reason why I wouldn't say black in the beginning. Okay. So it's crazy how we're kind of ships passing the night in that way. And it does speak to, I think, to go back to the initial start about being able to identify the way that you want to identify and own what you want to own. We don't know if Meghan Markle owns her black side or not. We don't know why she chooses to use the term biracial. Right. But I think that's an interesting conversation to have because if we just write her off because she said the biracial part, we don't necessarily know why she said that in that moment versus what she may say here in this setting. So I think it's one of those things that's always kind of nuanced and difficult, but that.
But even just to add, because I do think I see myself as African first.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm African, period. But I have to admit, I've been socialized in America. Right. And I've only been socialized in America. I can only trace my lineage as far back as America. So I got to be honest with myself about that. But I'm African. Yeah. That's how I identify personally.
So I think it's important, too, because we're talking about inclusion here, right? So we're talking about love and relationships, interpersonal and romantic relationships. These are some of the considerations, right? So the context in which I'm thinking is that Tiger Woods did announce that he was biracial, but he didn't say it like that. He was like, well, I'm not black. I'm partially this. And so we ate him up as a community. We ate his butt up.
Rightfully so.
And then,
Rightfully though,
you know what? But to Tyne's point is that, others that are biracial can identify as such and they don't get the same type of treatment. So I asked a question about is interracial dating considered black love? It was a question I seen one of my colleagues post because lately, Winston Duke, M'Baku from the Black Panther.
Oh, you done.
love these accents,
he
boy.
gave an interview and he said that black women really lifted his spirits and his confidence, and then later they found out that he had a white girlfriend. Childish Gambino.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh my God.
They went on a roll. It's a whole bunch of us.
That's a whole bunch of
Listen,
they
all
trying
that-
to get Michael B. Jordan too.
Listen, all the love they gave that brother, they snatched it right back. And then Childish Gambino.
Free smoke. That's you.
Ghost. Oh yeah,
St.
Omar.
Patrick on the show.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We can name all
He was
these.
hiding that for a couple years.
We can name all these examples of influential black males, because not only are they influential, or not only are they great actors, not only do they claim to have a passion for the black community, but they're also a model for young black men to look up to. And so it's two things. Young black boys are seeing these black men with white women, so what does that suggest to them? And then it's saying, what is that saying to black women? And so black women, the conversation is necessary because we can understand why feelings can be hurt. But the trip is, when Meghan Markle got married to Prince Harry, the conversation was different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Somebody's emotional.
I think it was different though. but this is America though. Like even trying, no pun intended, but I think
you
this
did
is
that on purpose.
I did. But this is like a melting pot with so many different nationalities and people. Like we all mix with something. But in the context of is that black love, I think we're right now we're starting to have a larger discussion of what love is in itself. A lot of people don't even know what that is. So I think when you see black men with white women or black women with white men, it's a matter of, do you love yourself, your reflection of self, how you identify.
Depending. I feel like, and that's the clear
That's the
differentiation
narrative
that
that's
people
going on
don't
now.
make. Right. Because I think when you look at somebody, like, first of all, to preface it, I feel like people should be able to choose who they want to choose.
Whoever.
I'm going to choose black, but just because you don't, I don't have a problem with that. I think the difference is that when you look at Childish Gambino, I'm a huge fan of Atlanta, I'm a huge fan of his work, but when you look at just like his trajectory as an artist, he has lampooned black culture. He has made fun of black culture and black women. And then to come out on the back end, once he gets this platform with a loud voice, he goes and makes fun of it again, but acts like he's trying to do something for our culture in a way that I feel like is contradictory, if that makes sense. So like to put it further, like you can't make fun of black culture and black women and say that they didn't like you and try to put them in this box that they're just less than and beneath. Then try to come back and make a video to empower the black people and then go marry a white woman.
But,
like what that says to me is that all the stuff that you're doing to make fun of us, that you hate yourself because you got a white woman.
Can we say
So you said so. That's what I meant by that
non-black
conversation.
woman? Can we say non-black woman? Because
Non-black woman.
sometimes it's not a white woman. Sometimes it's an Asian.
That's my
Hispanic
perspective on it, what it looks like, because it's like, okay, I get you as a comedian and you make jokes. I get that Atlanta is supposed to foster this kind of conversation and have the thought. But for you to make fun of us on every level and then have a non-black woman, it makes it seem like you hate yourself and you hate black culture. That's much different than everybody else who's not doing that, right?
Right.
Okay.
So I think that's the biggest piece that people are leaving out. Meghan Markle ain't making fun of biracial or black culture and then go marry a white man. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly
He's
what you're
making fun of us, and in the name of trying to raise this awareness, it seems like then you turn around and you go marry somebody that's not black. That makes it seem like you hate
have
us.
children by
That makes it seem like you
all that
hate us,
stuff.
right? It makes it seem like you hate yourself because you doing all of this and you don't even.
So what you're saying is like
Right.
context to what you're doing now. Like if you look at the history, it should be a timeline of you expressing love for yourself,
Right.
but also pushing art.
Right.
So it's a boundary. But I
But
think
but before, Childish Gambino. This is, let's be honest. And well, like you can speak to this because you're a black woman. In high school, in middle school,
Tread lightly,
elementary
bro.
school, what type of guy was the black girl
let's step on some toes.
trying to pursue?
Ain't just high school.
More often than not, middle school.
It's college. What you want me to do? Try to be hard in college.
So what I'm saying is
Gangbanging.
that, well, I was trying to take it that far back because I wanted to do it before you see he started that self-hatred and all those different things. Before Childish Gambino was Childish Gambino, he was probably the artsy dude, the different guy. He wasn't the thug, he wasn't the athlete.
He talks about that.
You know what I'm saying?
He said
He talked about that.
More often than not, them black women probably didn't even want to talk to somebody like that.
But the ones that he was interested in didn't want him. So
Yeah.
you can't, and this, I don't want to speak for the woman, so I'm going to let you jump. But you
Before
can't
she-
put all the black
Yeah,
women
I got it. I'm
in that
perfect.
spot because the ones that you was interested in wasn't interested in you.
Yeah,
There's-
well, I
there's
wasn't
plenty
saying
of
him. I'm just talking about in general.
general.
But what
The
about
women.
the black woman, though? What about me as an intellectual, skinny, growing up black woman who was looking at me? When I was in college, you know what I'm saying? And I didn't have the curves and the video girl looks. And I'm smart and I'm intellectual and I got a lot to say. When stuff don't sound right, you know, I ain't just gonna let it fly just because you're a man. You know what I'm saying? Who was looking at, I know you know that.
Oh yeah.
So who was looking at me and who was making sure that I was good? You know what I mean? On the sense that I like you, you know, you don't like me back because I'm not the image of what you want of a black woman.
So I guess I have a biased point of view because growing up in my community, you know, I went to this school in the hood, so or in the urban setting. So we just really went. I mean, I saw white girls. I liked the white girl in my elementary school, but for the most part, my girlfriend was gonna be black. You know what I mean? So I thought I guess I'm just thinking that black men or black boys automatically like the black girls. You know what I'm saying? Versus
Okay.
the
I get-
awkward black
context
kid.
and
Yeah, you know what I'm
environment.
saying? Like, I guess this is bias in a sense.
And I think for me, like I say this a lot. We it's a spectrum of black expression, especially black male expression. But sometimes we give more attention to the polar opposites. Like the thugs. Every woman at some point wanted a smart thug, and they will articulate that. Then you have the nerd on this end. It's so much room in between those two opposites.
Yeah.
These guys are the ones that don't really get enough attention, and we focus on toxic people in our lives. So when we get the nerd that you wasn't attracted to in high school or maybe undergrad, and they go on to get this high-paying job and get influence, and then he dates a white woman, it's like, well, you weren't really attracted to this guy
Right.
10 years ago, so like don't like have an attitude now.
Yeah, right.
And it's vice versa too. And
But
to
is
your
that the
point,
yeah.
but to your point of women, what I see a lot with women is black women have been sometimes on that spectrum as well. Not being the fast, the curvy, or not even fast, but just the curvy, more stereotypical built woman.
Or not having slanted eyes, not
None of
looking
that.
mixed.
Or not,
You know,
not looking
I just look
not
regular
having
black.
hair
You
feet.
know,
that was a pre-run.
They go on to be mad
Yeah, no.
successful, and then they date a
Good
white
hair.
man or get married to like Serena.
But I want to add to this conversation because when we're talking about black people, we always have to add the social context of what's being projected onto us, right?
Yeah.
And so it's this back and forth battle of black men versus black women. Oh, you don't want me, I don't want you, you know, XYZ. But we got to think of it like I was talking to this young sister, and she was just kind of like showing me my mirror, like, you know, because she's in college now, and she was just saying, you know, this girl's everything. Like, she's going to Ghana on a spiritual journey, like just accomplishing, like producing film. Like, this girl's doing everything she wants to do and at her will and creating her path and her destiny, and just saying, I'm looking around, it's a bunch of black women that are mothers and not wives. And that scares me. And the fact that, you know, the prison industrial complex contributes to me not being able to find a black man and all this XYZ. But a lot of that stuff, you know, because even with the statistics about more black men being in jail than in college, it's a lie. And Dr. Ivory Tolson proved that with his statistical analysis. You know what I'm saying?
Don't do it.
I can't remember the name right now, the book, but look it up.
We'll put the citation.
Yeah, we'll put it up. So, but
don't make any promises.
so it's like we take these statistics. We take these statistics and integrate it into our personal lives.
Right.
And because you haven't found the person you were looking for that's black right now, now you change your mind. Oh, I need to go date someone else and just. And what I found is I've tried. You know, I dated a guy who was Thai and Chinese, and you know, for me, what I found though is my black identity is just too great and too important to me to date someone not necessarily that's not black, but someone that's not conscious.
Okay.
And
that is a
conscious
difference.
folks.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
a lot of people
so-
don't recognize that is a difference.
It is a difference, but a lot of times with the color, sometimes you're not conscious because you don't experience the marginalization.
Was
So
Rachel
you can't see
Dolezal
it.
conscious?
That's what?
Rachel does off. No, because we have
She's
to bring
for the movement.
No, we have to bring her to the conversation because you said earlier too. It's about
not?
she is for the movement.
Working for in the NAACP? How not?
Well, she was doing
I
things.
think
That's dangerous because she can
man.
move in and out of her privilege.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the part that everybody
She
else
was
is black.
transracial.
We not about to
She
accept
was
that.
Transracial ain't a thing to me.
I'm
Listen, because here's the thing: she gets to identify as white or black based on her thoughts. Yeah, you about to cut because that ain't real.
Right.
Like she could be white when she want to be white.
She can
and
be white
black when she want to be black. I can't be white.
I don't want to get into the delusional aspect.
Let me be white.
Listen, I don't want to get into the delusional aspect of Rachel Dolezal and how she. No.
This conversation is all over the place.
Can I finish?
Yeah,
Can
tell
I
us why
finish?
you brought it up.
Can I
You
finish?
about to shut
Can I
everybody
finish?
down.
Free smoke.
Thank you. Because it's coming.
He loaded too.
No.
He loaded.
Loaded
No,
over
I
there.
bring it up because we talk about consciousness, right? And like she was conscious to a degree. You talk about,
for sure.
being woke and having white allies, and then on the opposite end of that, like they can also manipulate that and use that power against us too. So when we're talking about the larger context of interracial relationship, people who are down for the movement, do we have not white allies, because I do want to move away from that, like non-African allies. Like how do we accept them, and then like what does that mean for how we embrace this as a community, right? Like if it invalidates the black woman experience, if it invalidates the black male experience, right? Because I think I had some white chocolate too in my day. I'm not sure about y'all.
How do we accept what?
I have never. They gotta be white though. Like she didn't identify as white.
She abused it, like he said.
Did she just get caught up for fraud or something recently?
Well, I mean, that's on some other stuff too, but we're really
No,
on the
it ain't.
baseline.
Hey, what's the question though?
Fraud.
What's the question?
The question was like, how do we kind of negotiate these relationships in relationship to interracial dating, and like how do we embrace brothers and sisters who date, outside of the race, and how do we accept their partners? Like, are they invited to the cookout? You know what I mean?